tell your guys that they're going to block a field goal?
I say a lot the night before the game.
What did you see against Chicago to give you that, to give them that message?
You know, our guys do a lot of film study on their own. You know, Brooksy and TJ and Lucas and JJ, and so you know, they had a pretty good idea that they had a chance at one in the game. I think the one we're probably a little bit more upset about is the 53-yarder. I think, bless you. I think TJ had a chance to block it with his elbow. You know, he just kind of got moved out of the way a little bit. So we'd like to have had that one back as well.
Were you guys sure you were lined up legally? I think they were a little irked that maybe they thought you
Yeah,
guys
sure.
Hey, Rich, what is it about with Karl Brooks that has enabled him to kind of be successful in that way? I know last year he had the block too against Minnesota. Is there just anything about the way he plays, or just what kind of works that has had some success being able
Well, I
to?
think he does a great job preparing. He does a lot of film study. He does a really good job in practice with his stance and his takeoff, along with TJ and, you know, the other guys that are all next to him. There's a massive humanity in there, you know, on field goal protection and on field goal rush. So I think his ability to prepare, his ability to get himself in the right body position and to time up the reach is kind of what gives him a chance to block him. I think that, would you say it's the second one? I think he's had two, and I think Kobe's had two. So it's going in the right direction right now.
You've given up a bunch of return yards. Do you see some opportunities this week?
You know, every game's different. So, you know, I know they've had some injuries and they've had some guys go down, have to play some new guys in there, but we haven't, you know, done a great job of blocking all the people we're supposed to block and the opportunities that we've had. So we're hoping to improve ourselves and really just worry about what we can do. I think they've been a good coverage team in the past. You know, they have Odom, who we have a lot of respect for in our room. He's a really good player. They have a young player in, I know, 51, Robert Beal, has been really good for them. He's playing all over the place. He's done really well on punt rush, and then he's done a really good job. I think he's leading them in tackles on their kickoff team. So we'll have our hands full with them. This Brian Schneider's been in multiple Super Bowls. He's been around a long time. You know, I've known Brian since going against him a bunch in Dallas when he was in Seattle, and so we're expecting a fast, physical challenge this week.
What does it say about Brenton Cox, a guy who I'm sure was chomping at the bit to play, and the guy headbutts him, and he just, you know, cool as a cube and doesn't, you know, doesn't retaliate? What's that say?
Yeah, I'd say that, you know, Coach, I know, alluded to it. That was a big poised play, you know, by him, and you know, he's certainly matured over the year and a half that he's been here, and I think he's been practicing his butt off for the opportunity that he got in the game, and when he got in that critical situation, he did a heck of a job of getting back in front of that guy, getting in great body position, and it frustrated that player who happened to headbutt him, and he did a great job of holding his cool, and it took the ball from backed up inside the 10 to the 24-yard line. So it's a big play field position-wise for us. So we hope he's on the come and just keeps doing things to keeping him on the field.
Rich, in game, if Matt is the play caller and the defense is on the field and he's got to meet briefly with Jordan or something like that, you or the coaching staff, you're kind of watching the sideline there for him? I mean, what's your involvement if Matt has to take a moment to gather for the next series with offense?
Well, you know, fortunately, I get to be on the headset with Coach, so and he has the ability to go to both, you know, and to flip on and off to the offense, and so you know, I have the privilege of just being able to watch defense when they're on the field and we're always getting ready for third down, right? And because third down ready is either on offense for the punt or third down ready is offense or defense for the punt return team. So I get a chance to keep watching how the substitutions are going, both on offense and defense, and a little bit more help to Coach would be on the defensive side. And, you know, so if you see something or if Coach needs to be alerted for possible timeout or something like that, you know, it's usually done communication-wise through the headset. So.
Hey, Rich, going back to what you said on Saturday night to the guys, I mean, after the game, they were all talking about it. So when you say something like that, it's not, is it more than just pointing out a weakness? I mean, is it to get them thinking and get them confident? I mean, is there more to it than just information?
Well, you know, I really think it goes back to the preparation part. You know, we're all looking at the same film, and we're all looking at different things. And again, a credit to, you know, to Brooks and to TJ and to those guys, because they do a good job of watching the film on their own. And then on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, you know, we have big field goal and field goal protection meetings and that part of practice on the field. So, you know, they're can give suggestions or things that they see or what they'd like to do or positions they'd like to be in, and then we get to talk about it. So we all thought, you know, going into that game that we had an opportunity possibly to get our hands on one. And we'd been close, you know, last couple of weeks we've been close. And then, you know, the big one that no one really talks about is, you know, Kobe blocked the PAT at the Ram game. You know, if I remember correctly, that came down to a close game, you know. So it just happened to be the last play of the game in this particular game. But again, going back to the, you know, the 53-yarder, which has kind of been his max. I think he's hit a 54-yarder. He's missed on a 56 indoors, and we really thought we could get our hands on that one. Came out a little bit low and just missed it. So real appreciative of our guys getting their hands on that last one. But, you know, we do say a lot of things during the course of the week and the night before a game, and so I wish they'd all come true, but that one worked out.
You guys good?
Great. Thank you, guys.
This morning? Oh, look, I was in Boston. Just like today at practice. And Cleveland one was cold. All right, well, here we go. You guys good?
So Jeff, you guys have obviously done a lot of really good things this season. When you have a day like you guys had in Chicago, and you still win the game, how helpful is it to be able to coach off that? How are you feeling about your guys' performance, especially the third down numbers they were able? How did you kind of come out of that game?
Well, one, you win. And I told you since I got here, the only thing I care about is helping our players get better, seeing them have success and win. Right? You look at the tape and it wasn't our best. We did some really good things. And then we had opportunities to finish some plays. We had opportunities to kind of put the game away here and there. And we were just right there, and we just didn't get the job done. So when you look at the film, win or lose, you know, fortunately we're winning this game. You look hard, you make the corrections, and I mean, we've got great guys. They watch the tape. They see the plays that we were capable of making. You know, in that game, it was too much 3rd and 4 and then go for it on 4th down. 3rd and 5, get a couple, then go for it on 4th down, where we didn't get into those longer down and distances where we've had so much success because we've played really good 3rd down defense. It's hard to do it if you get in those 3rd and short yardage situations and then they're going to go for it on 4th down. There was a lot of 4 downs, right? There were a lot of long drives. So you look back, you correct it. You show them what they did well. You showed them what we need to correct. I show them what we need to coach better, right? Because we're all in it together, obviously. I told them this is never like, you didn't make the play, that's why. No, that's not how it is, right? We're all together, we all correct it, and then you go out and you practice and you do your best you can to fix those things and move on. And at the end of the day, after all that and all those plays, you gave up 19 points. So don't forget that. I mean, that's something that can't be overlooked is all those plays, all the things that we need to correct, and they scored 19 points. So we make this play here, we make this adjustment here, we do this here, and let's fix those things and continue to play really good defense because we have.
What did you tell them that you didn't like about how you guys coached? Like, what
Well,
was
I'm
it?
going to keep the stuff we talked to. I'm not going to call it a player and sit here and tell you on this D&D, this guy should have done that, just like I'm not going to tell you schematically what those are conversations for that room.
I didn't want to ask what the play.
I knew you want to ask the players. I'll tell you if you ever want to have a conversation. I don't think that's fair to the coaching staff, and I don't think that's fair schematically to what we're trying to do. And there's no, I mean, you know, you guys are awesome. There's no disrespect in not answering that question. I just don't want to go down that road. But overall, I feel like when you watch, there's some really good things. I mean, if you watch that tape on first down, the first down of the game, the first second down of the game, and I feel like this game was years ago now, and we get him into 3rd and long, and I mean, we're this close to being off the field, and if we execute it right, we are off the field. And now all of a sudden but it didn't happen, right? So why didn't it happen? And you go through the game and you watch those things. And, you know, you go through some other wins too, guys, and you come out and however many points you give up and what the final score is, it's the same each week. I mean, when you watch the film, win or lose, there's things that you do that you really like, and then there's some things that you do that you don't like. What you can never fall into the trap is after a win where it feels great, thinking that you got all the answers and thinking that everything's good, because that's just not how it works. Just like when you lose a game, you look at the film the same way. There's a process to it that is greater than the result, and you have to stick with that. So win or lose, there's a consistency from me and from them, and it's about getting better.
Caleb had been sacked so many times so far this season. What did they do to help protect him? And it was part of that, those planned quarterback keepers that he ran?
Well, there weren't as many quarterback keepers. It was more him scrambling. I mean, those were all the yards came from. One, they had their tackles back. It makes a pretty big difference when you watch the week before and their tackles aren't there and they have to move around the whole offensive line. Second is they got the ball out a heck of a lot quicker. The ball was coming out, and if it wasn't, it was like, look here and run. So when he had to hold it, we got pressure on him.
What do you think of Brenton Cox and kind of how he stepped up in that spot? Obviously, it's been a long wait for him, but finally getting the opportunity to go out there and show what he could do on Sunday.
I was proud of him. He made a couple of really big plays. He had the sack in the game on the boot when the quarterback came out to our left. He read it perfectly just like he had in practice. He played with energy. He executed at a pretty high level with his assignments. For a first game going in there, I think he did a really good job. And that's what I expected. I mean, that's what he's looked like in practice. And hopefully he'll just keep getting better the more he does get in those situations, because he hadn't had many game reps. But I was pleased with him. And I think just like everything else we talked about, there's plays that he'll want back and he'll want to improve on. But I am proud of the way he came out and played.
I know he hasn't done a whole lot in his 2 games, but what does McCaffrey do for that offense?
A lot. I think he's one of the most dynamic backs in this league. He runs hard, he's fast, he's got great contact balance, he can stand and protect. He's great in the pass game. He's awesome in the red zone. I think he's a dynamic football player.
X was talking yesterday about the stress a quarterback who can create off schedule puts on the defense just with plaster rules and everything. Does Purdy do a good job of that?
He does. You know, I really never got a chance to study Purdy other than watching him on TV. I've watched the Niners. But when you really study him, I'll say, I think he's playing at a really high level. And I mean really high level. We've played really good quarterbacks this year. It seems like every week, right? He's impressive. He gets the ball out on time. He sits in the pocket. He goes through his reads. He doesn't force too many bad throws. But then the thing you notice, especially when you start to watch the third down, is I think he scrambled for the third most first downs out of any quarterback in the NFL. And you don't look at him right away and think that, but he's athletic and he's strong and he's fast. And I respect because he runs really hard too. He's not just a guy that's going to slide. He's going to go for it. And what it does is, I mean, you got to be really good in your rush lanes. And if you want to pressure him, you got to fill up those rush lanes. You got to make sure you contain on the edge. And if you're in zone coverage, you have to keep your eyes on him. And when things break down, you got to be careful of when you come up, because then holes open up in your zones. And if you're in man coverage, you got those good receivers that you got to stay on when things move around. I think he's playing really well. I have he wasn't there when I was there. I have a ton of respect for him. I think he's having a great year. I think he's playing his best football.
Did you have to call a different game after Jair went out?
No, not a different game. I mean, there's some things that you do differently and adjust, but you can't just all of a sudden start calling a different game.
If he's out a bit, are you happy with what you've gotten from Nixon and Valentine? And Stokes hasn't played a whole lot here last week, but that kind of revamped secondary.
Yeah, I think the competition's there. They work hard in practice. I believe in those guys. I believe in Stokes, and we're going to need them. If a guy goes down, the next guy steps up. What I love about that group is just the competition and the competitive nature. And I think DA and Ryan have done a really good job in that room. And whoever is available will be ready to go. And, you know, hopefully we'll get Ja back and he'll be ready to go. But if he's not, it's the next guy in and let's go play ball.
Has Valentine kind of worked himself into that spot? Like if Jair couldn't play, that he would be the starter? Do you think he's sort of come back and emerged that way?
I think he's done a nice job, but I do think there's still competition in that room. You know, with him and Key and Stokes, I think there's competition. That's what we want. So they push each other each day in practice, and they're all going to play. I mean, you've seen packages where in certain groupings, all three of them have been on the field, and if Ja does play on Sunday, all four of them are on the field. I mean, that's the more DBs in certain situations you can get on the field. In some instances, the better. And if you don't have those guys, you got to adjust.
There was a time last year where Valentine was having to start, and he started a lot of games. I'm sure you saw most of the tape and everything like that. What has he had to do to get, is it the injuries that have kind of set him back, you think?
Yeah, it was the injuries. It's just him practicing and getting himself ready to play in a game, and he's done that now.
You have to go back to the 49ers on offense. Kittle said that, you know, he'll probably play this Sunday. Just what does he do for that offense when he's in the mix?
He does a lot. He's a great blocker. They can hand him the ball. He's a great wideout down the field. He's a guy that was there. We drafted him when I was there. Plays with a ton of energy, practices with that energy. He just brings that juice to that team. The effort, the enthusiasm, the intensity. Yeah, he plays the game the right way. And I have a ton of respect for him, and he's a great person. So he raises up their offense. So if he says he's going to play, I'm sure he'll play.
How has Teron Hopper come along? Is there a point in the season where you think he might force himself on the field, or where is he at as?
He's improved, and yes, I think at some point at this season you'll see him play. He works really hard. He's been getting a little bit more reps here and there. He does a good job with the look team, and I think at some point this year you'll see him play. I'm glad you brought him up because I thought he's had a real good couple of weeks, and I mentioned that to him the other day.
He's different than any of the other guys, right? I mean, just because of his size?
Different how?
More of a banger type of inside linebacker type? Like, is he more of a traditional middle guy?
I think he can play Sam and play on the edge. I think he has versatility to him, but I like the fact that you notice he's a physical guy.
Well, you could see it in preseason.
Yeah, no doubt. He is a physical guy. I mean, I think Coop's physical. I think all those guys, but he can play on the edge. He can play Sam, where he's trained. He can play inside too, but he is a physical guy. So I'm glad you saw that. I like him.
I have a question about, I think it was the 4th and 2 where Caleb hits the running back in the flat for a first down. And Quay, it looks like on tape, has an opening to go get him. Is his job in that situation to just keep Caleb in front of him to make sure he doesn't scramble for the first down? Like, did he do what he was supposed to do on that play?
You want me to get in a scheme now? What do you think he was supposed to do on that play?
I think he was supposed to make sure Caleb didn't scramble for the first down, but I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
Quay should have just kept going, and that's one of those where you wish you had back, right? But he saw something, and the quarterback made a good play. Good. You watch the film closely. I respect that, so I'll answer your question fairly and honestly. What else? Anybody else?
Kenny's been a 3-time Pro Bowler. He's been an unbelievable player. He's gone 2 games in a row without even a tackle. Is it the toe? Is there something else that's kind of prevented him from being kind of the Kenny Clark that we've all?
Well, you'd have to ask him how his toe feels. You know how I feel about Kenny. I think Kenny's a really good player. I love coaching him. I love being around him. I love the energy that he brings, and I just think he'll continue to get that production as he plays. I'm not going to make any excuses for Kenny. I mean, those are questions for how he feels. I'm sure you can grab him and ask him.
In the other schemes that since he's been here, he's had some success being right over the nose and winning one-on-ones with the center. Is that part of your defense at all, or, I mean, are there times where you will try to put him on?
He's been over the center, yes. Yeah, he has been, and he will continue to be.
Jeff, obviously, Carl had the big block on the field goal. He's had some moments for you. I know you're trying to get everybody in there, but are there some opportunities to get him more involved, you think?
Yeah, and at different positions, because we've lined him up on the inside and we've played him on the outside on the edge, and he can do some different things pass rush-wise. So absolutely, yeah, I think you'll see more and more of him. I'm pleased with the way he's played, and it's fun to see a guy like that have success both on teams and on defense. That was a cool moment for him, and I think everybody was really happy for him.
We're still learning X, getting to know him, obviously as a guy in the locker room. I don't know how many times he's thrown his helmet and smashed a tablet before, but he obviously has high expectations. What did you see on the touchdown, and what do you expect from him after a moment like that when he's obviously pretty pissed at himself?
The guy, what I've said about X the whole entire time is, and if you recall, I think you guys asked me a couple of weeks ago, X cares about every single rep in practice. And when X doesn't make a play in practice, he's frustrated because he cares so much and he expects so much of himself. So I think that answers that for you. And that's just who he is. He wants to be great, and he wants to make plays.
Came down on that play, on the Swift touchdown play, and got nailed by Braxton Jones. Is there, a teaching point there, or do you just get blocked?
He's got to set the edge. He's the edge setter of the defense. So you get outside, you force the ball back to the inside. He came down too far inside and too late. They were able to seal him. There's nobody outside. I mean, that's a play where we should come down, set the edge, force the ball inside, and we make the play, and it happens, and he's a young player. The timing of when he came down, the leverage where he came down, you want to be outside in when you make that, not inside out, because if you come inside out, you have no one to help you. All your team is coming this way. Come on, anybody got any positives to talk about today? You guys are like Debbie Downers today. We give up 19 points and win another game, and everybody just wants to be. I thought this was like a cheery, happy-go-lucky group. This is like, I mean, gosh, I hate to see you guys when it gets really cold outside.
Carl Brooks was a good thing.
Carl Brooks was a good thing. Hopper, I appreciate that. We're bringing up bad angles, 4th and 2s.
All right, so let's do the flip side of what I asked you to start this, right?
We can go all day with this group. I'm just trying to bring the energy level up in here. I mean, God, I'd hate to be on the other end of a couple of these. Go ahead.
Well, so what right now, because I think what we've learned from you is that you're never really satisfied. So what are you pleased with that you guys are doing well then, so we can end on a positive note?
I appreciate that. We have an unbelievable group of guys who you guys only get out there for a little today, and then you stand outside in the cold and we're inside, and then you come back in. So I'm sure this is probably why you're feeling the way you're feeling today, because while we were inside, you guys all had to remain outside. The way these guys work, the way these guys stick together, how hard they play, and they've improved. And I get it. Last game wasn't like, I'm not saying like last game was good enough by any means. So like, please hear me loud and clear. That's not our standard. It was not good enough. But over the grand scheme of this season, what we've been able to do so far in year one and everybody getting to know each other, these guys have done a great job. They have. And they've gotten better every single week, and they work harder every single week, and we're able to do a little bit more each week, regardless of who's been in. There's been no excuse on this guy's out, this guy's had to do this guy leaves, this guy switches positions. There's none of that. And you haven't heard any of that. They just work. And they're starting to come together, and you can feel the energy that they're coming together with. And that's like, to me, that's the most impressive thing. And you're going to see this group just get better and better. So I appreciate you ending on a note like that. And I also understand you guys got a job to do too, so I'm halfway joking with you. But I'm not pleased. I'm not happy at all. In my opinion, in that game, I don't know if they should have scored a touchdown on us, to be very honest with you. And that's our standard. So that's That's where I'm at too. And this is a week where this is a really good offense that we're playing. Probably the most explosive that we've played other than Detroit. With wideouts, a great offensive line, a really good running back, a really good tight end, and one of the best play callers in the game. And our guys know that. And I can't wait to get out there and watch us play. So, go smile, guys. I'll see you later.
Hey, Steno, you've been around this game a long time. Did this quote from LaFleur about Rasheed Walker, that he doesn't want to pat him on the butt and have him poop on his hand, are you familiar with that phrase?
Yeah. Very familiar with that.
So I asked Sheed about it today, and he was not aware of that quote. But he said that he thinks Matt doesn't want him getting complacent.
Mm-hmm.
What have you seen from him? Because his response was, I don't think I played poorly, but I had to get the penalties cleaned up. How do you view his season?
Yeah, I think that's right. Any young player, you just got to make sure you keep hammering in the fundamentals. You keep hammering in just how you have to work every single week. And it's not that Rasheed's been doing a bad job. It's just you just make sure all these young guys, and it's not just him, it's all of them, are just preparing the right way. Just understand that this is a week-to-week league. Like everything you do, you can't rest on any laurels of what happened in the past. You have to just be on your stuff every single week. So I think that's kind of the gist of what he was trying to say. And for us, that's kind of just how we handle all these guys. Just holding them accountable and making sure they hold each other accountable and just working every single week to be their best and to improve.
So you guys were really accurate with the deep stuff. I think Jordan was 6 of 6 on throws 15 or more yards down the field Sunday. 49ers have probably the best, statistically the best defense against that stuff. What do they do and what can you do?
Well, their coverage, they do a good job just melting and getting deep with those deeper routes and forcing you to check it down. So basically, we just got to take what they give us and just stay on schedule with the game plan. And if we get those deeper throws, great. We got to make sure when those plays come that we hit them. But if not, just take the checkdowns. And as you can see, Josh and Tucker and all those guys are really productive when that stuff happens. So, yeah, just kind of take what the defense gives you.
Have you found, are there any specific challenges with a quarterback who's in his second season as the starter? He's a much different guy than he was the previous year, but he's still not what you would call, an experienced player. Any particular challenges with that for him?
Not so much challenges, just kind of reminders, that sometimes when you think you've mastered something, you just have to make sure you keep practicing it to reinforce certain things, certain throws or certain reads or just certain decisions that he makes. So I think, with Jordan, he's such a mature guy, and he's smart and just great work ethic and everything like that, but sometimes you can put a little too much on his plate, and just because you think he can handle it. So you just got to, as a coach, just kind of understand, again, this is his second year as a starter, so it's not like like you said, he's a polished pro or anything like that. Still got a long way to go. So yeah, just understanding where he's at.
Steno, what was it like to see Christian Watson, have the performance that he had? Because, he's had some injuries, hasn't been able to get the targets he needed, but just to do that. And also, what does it do just for the wide receiver room? when he's
Yeah,
playing?
no, it was great. Like, you could see it in practice the last month or so, just him really getting into his stride and making a lot of big plays. So it was great to see him go out there and have a really good game like that. And you see it every year from him, just like the impact that he has. Cowboys game a couple years ago, he had 3 touchdowns. Like, he can do that any game. He has that ability to just be the game-changing force that he was last week. So, no, it was great. Like, everyone loves Christian. They respect his work ethic, just how he's a pro every single day. So when guys like that really shine, I think it really picks everyone up.
Against the Bears, I think you had 18 first downs, and you had 1 third-down conversion.
Yeah.
Which is about the damnedest thing I've ever seen in my life.
That was one of the weirdest games, yeah.
So how do you get all that first and second down production and carry some of it over to the third down? So
Yeah, and a lot of the third downs were in the red zone too. So it was just strange. Like, we had the ball. I think we had 6 real possessions, and we had 1 punt, and the rest of them we were in the red zone. Like, we did a great job moving the ball. So yeah, it's one of those things where we're just, you can see how explosive we are. You can see how productive we can be, but we just got to really focus on finishing, whether it's the third downs or in the red zone, finishing with touchdowns or field goals at least. But we just got to be better in those situations for sure.
third down has been an issue.
It has, yeah, and it's been kind of, as the year has gone on, it's been like different problems. At first, we had a lot of penalties, and then we had a lot of drops, and now we just got to make sure we just keep focusing on being productive and just honing in on simple plays and making sure we can play fast and go execute.
Do you think the scramble drill part, I mean, it's been a long time since Jordan's been able to really get outside the pocket.
Well, if you think about like the play that won us the game, or one of the plays, when he got out in the red zone and almost scored, the pylon, that was a scramble, and I think that was a good indication of how he's feeling health-wise with his knee and his groin and all that stuff. He got out of the pocket, made a great play, almost scored a touchdown there. I thought we did, but yeah, I think he's feeling a lot better.
Do your receivers need to? I mean, do you think that kind of chemistry on scramble plays has maybe not been there just because he hasn't scrambled?
Yeah, you could say that maybe. We'll kind of see as we go. It's something we kind of talk about a lot. Anytime the quarterback leaves the pocket, all right, you see this, you react this way to whoever. I thought at the time when he was scrambling out, he may have had a shot at Tucker in the end zone, but he just took it. I think he saw his lane to the end zone and just went for it, which I can't blame him for. So, yeah, it's just something you really got to, as chemistry and all that stuff, that's very important.
What about on the 4th and 6? Could somebody have gotten themselves open, or do you think it was just really good?
Yeah, they had that one pretty covered. Yeah, no one sticks out in my mind as far as like who he could have gotten the ball to there. Yeah, because he kind of left the pocket and then went for it again, trying to get it with his legs.
So how long do you think it takes for a quarterback and his receivers to get good at that, right? I mean, obviously Rodgers had so many years with a lot of those guys that they all knew exactly what he wanted.
Yeah, I don't know. It just depends, but I think we have that capability. We certainly do with the guys we have, and just how the feel they have for the game. And we've made some great plays in the past off scrambles. So it's just kind of as the games go, more opportunities show up.
How good was that pass from Jordan on the 60-yarder at Christian?
Yeah.
I mean, he got hit really hard.
Yeah, it was a great, no flinch in the pocket. There was pressure in his face. He threw a dime, and then a hell of a play by Christian to make that play and then have the just instincts to get up and go. And I was hoping he was going to score right there. But, yeah, that was an unbelievable throw.
Obviously, you can't, really control him. It's like you can have Brenton Cox taking free runs at him at practice.
No.
How do you get good at that as a quarterback?
It's kind of, you either have it or you don't, you know? Some guys, you know, have that just ability to stand in the pocket and make those plays. And I think it's something that it's just a mindset, really, and he definitely has that for sure.
Had you seen him plant and throw like he did on, I think, the first Watson one, where he kind of threw between two defenders? Remember that one? Had you seen him really, you know, it looked like his follow through was really good, his plant, you know?
Yeah.
Have you been doing that consistently?
Yes, not so much in games, but yes, in practice you were seeing just him look better with his lower body, you know, throwing the ball and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Is that a good sign? in the way-
Very good sign, yes.
Steno, I don't want to insinuate that Jordan wasn't good about taking checkdowns last year, but it did feel like there were times during the first half of the season where maybe he passed some up.
Yeah, he definitely could have been better last year at the beginning for sure.
So when you look at what he did against the Bears, I know the plays to Watson are the ones that get your attention, or the touchdown throw to Reed, but getting the ball to the running backs, I think 6 of the 13 completions were to running backs. Is that a good sign for his decision making?
Yeah, it's great. You know, it's just, again, like we talked about earlier with the 49ers, just taking what they give you, you know. And again, if those down the field throws aren't there, and you got a guy who's a playmaker down in the flat I mean, we got an explosive, maybe 2 off of those. So, yeah, I mean, you always, again, want to stay on schedule, you know, and stay out of those third down situations.
I'm not sure if Bosa's going to play or not. I don't think he practiced today, but obviously you've seen him a bunch. What's the challenge that he presents?
Well, everyone talks about, you know, how great he is as a pass rusher, and he's one of the best in the NFL. Just his get off, his power, his ability to create an edge on a tackle is elite. He can get after guys pretty good, but he's also really, really good in the run game too. Just his physicality. Anytime he's one-on-one with a tight end, something like that, that's a problem. So he's a guy that you just have to be aware of wherever he's at on the field to make sure you're not in a bad play.
You know, Josh Jacobs' touchdown, where Bears had just about everybody in the stadium up at the line. So is that, how did you know that was going to work? You know, is that one where Jordan would maybe go, oh, time out?
No, at that point, you know, we just wanted a downhill run, and there was an unblocked hat, and that's what makes guys like Josh special, is there's a guy down there, you make a miss, you score a touchdown. If he tackles you, then, you know, next play. But he obviously made a miss on that one and scored. So that's just one thing, you know, the nice thing about having a guy like him is to just provide those kind of plays for the offense.
2 more, please.
Steno, I appreciate your correction last week that Michigan-Ohio State is the college football rivalry. I know that Hallbach isn't putting together a Packers-49ers rivalry tape this week, but there's a lot of history here, right? I'm just curious, how do you kind of make the main thing, but we all know, I mean, everybody in that locker room knows they ended your season last year.
No doubt.
So what's kind of the approach for you guys as coaches to make it important, but not like?
Yeah, I think the game itself, just this week, you know, where we are in the season, where they are in the season, is a really big game, you know, for us and our playoff implications, and the same thing for them. It's a big game. Obviously, anytime you lose to somebody in the playoffs, that's going to make it a little bit more meaningful, which, you know, the guys are fired up for, and it's fun. Again, like last week versus the Bears, like anytime you can make a game in a 17, you know, game season, anytime you can just add a little bit more fuel, add a little bit more motivation, I think that's very powerful and useful.
You guys good?
All right, thanks guys.